This week we're going to talk about all super powerful beings going to live somewhere that isn't with humans, because canonically that's worked really well. Without further ado, let's talk comics. This week I picked up New Mutants and also X-Force, but we're going to talk about New Mutants. I also picked up Legion of Superheroes from DC and this random one from Boombox called BB Free that I really enjoyed. I picked it up because the art on the cover was just so cute. This the main female character, she's just adorable. Little did I know I'd have a weird amount of things in common with this comic. We're going to start with New Mutants though. I don't want to draw too many parallels between New Mutants and Legion of Superheroes, but you know, like the idea that all of the superpowered beings are sort of relegated to this other place, and then also like time travel and stuff that kind of hurts my brain. We're both a part of both of these comics, which was cool and interesting. You saw a lot of sort of the same themes, like this is like sort of like a heaven and a well-controlled area for these superheroes, both on Krakoa and in like New Metropolis in the Legion of Heroes. I also got a fancy little plastic ring that came with Legion of Heroes, which is kind of funny. But we're going to start here with New Mutants. Now, New Mutants has a cast of characters that you might have missed because it's been a while since we've heard from them. It's that old school cast of Karma, Wolfsbane, Mondo, Cypher, Mirage, Sunspot, Chamber, and Magic. I miss Elixir, but he was a student, I guess. I don't know, whatever. There's been so many new Mutants that I get a little confused sometimes, but this comic was really great. It started out with Wolfsbane being reborn on Krakoa, because Krakoa has the power with Xavier to use mutant DNA and sort of like what would be mutant backup hard drives to bring mutants back from the dead. That's not at all going to be a problem at some point. We're not getting ahead of ourselves here. We're reading and enjoying. We're being in the now. But she goes and she meets up with all of her New Mutant friends, and it's really great to see some of these characters that you're really used to, like Rasputin, who I just love so much, who loves coffee, possibly as much as I do. What an absolute mood. And this comic was great, because not only did you get to see and were reintroduced to a lot of these characters, but didn't really like baby you, didn't like tell you who's who and like giving you like this long background or like this side thing that's telling you about all of these mutants. It expects you to know who these mutants are to some extent, but new readers I don't think would be too confused by this either, because I gotta be honest, I don't know like that much about the New Mutants, but I didn't feel like super confused. It was fine. The only mutant I'm not super familiar with is Sunspot, but I guess I'll get to know him better. And right now it's just kind of in the beginning stages of the New Mutants, you know, like they are like the X-Men. They're the kind of second generation X-Men, and they will be fighting the evil, you know, bad stuff like the normal X-Men do. But right now it looks like they're on a journey to rescue Sam. I don't remember who Sam is. I didn't Google it. I figured I would figure it out like everybody else when the other comic comes out. I'm patient. But it's really cool that we not only get to see these characters sort of in Krakoa in their sort of relaxed and natural habitat, like joking around and stuff, but we also get to see them in action a little bit. So we're seeing a little bit of a fight sequence here, and of course it leaves us on a cliffhanger because we're gonna have to wait for a while for another one of these comics to come out. And that's just the way it's been going with these new X-Men comics, but I'm really enjoying it. My only holdup is that in order to keep up with this storyline, which started with House of X and Powers of 10, you're gonna have to be buying several comics at once. They're all coming out with like issue 1, then issue 2, and it's just, you know, it's a lot. But that's not to say that I'm not enjoying it. I am. I'm just concerned that as a busy gal, I won't be able to keep up. What do you think about it? Are you enjoying this new reboot of the X-Men? Are you enjoying Hickman's writing? Are you enjoying all the different artists that are coming together to work on all these separate books? Could you care less? I'm interested to know. All right, we're moving on to, I almost forgot. We're moving on to Legion of Superheroes. Now, I didn't necessarily have a huge interest in this. I do follow Brian Bendis on all sorts of social media, of course, and I've loved many of the things that he's written before, but I'm just like not as familiar with the DC heroes because I grew up with Marvel. But I do love Superboy, and he is a big part in this story. So Superboy travels through time and space to New Metropolis, where it's all like super people, and they all are band together with what look like Green Lantern rings, but have this L shape on them instead. And you even got one when you bought the comic, which was just so cute. And he's learning about this new place, and he's fighting with them, and they are sort of governed by what appears to be a one-woman council who believes that bringing Superman from his timeline is kind of a bad idea. So we're definitely left on the cliffhanger there as well. It was really cool to get to see all sorts of different kinds of superheroes. And in the beginning of this comic, a band of superheroes are fighting for Arthur Curry's trident. But Arthur Curry is long dead because this is way, way in the future. So it's really interesting to see sort of these relics of like superheroes past that we're all really familiar with, and then getting to see like new superheroes. I thought it was really cool. If you're interested in sort of a new age with some familiar characters and some not so familiar character comic book thing, it was very superhero heavy. It was very like fight crime, and it was super cool. So I really enjoyed it. Also, I love the Kents. I think the Kents are like perfect comic book family, and there was one line in here where Jonathan's like, my mom is my dad's best friend. It's just so cute. He's just so lawful good. I just love him so much. All right, and my last pick for this week is BB Free. Now, I picked this up on a whim just because I really liked the cover art, and I was looking for something a little different to read this week, and I did not know that it would be taking place in my home, Florida. Now, I am a Florida Gator. I do that out of obligation. I have a lot of student debt to them. It's written in a clause somewhere. But this comic book takes place in Gainesville, Florida, which is where the University of Florida is. For those of you who don't know, I'm on the other side of the country, so I don't expect all of you to know I get it. But Florida is not really Florida anymore. It's sort of a bunch of islands together, as this comic points out. It's called an archipelago, but nobody calls it that. Thanks. I get it. But so BB lives on one of the islands in Florida, in Gainesville, and she has just turned 15. And in this comic, when you turn 15, you're granted your freedom. And she comes from a family, it's just her and her dad, but her dad is very strict. And her dad doesn't want her to have freedom when she turns 15. Instead, he wants to put her in this sort of boot camp that seems to be part of a church or some weird organization. But BB talks all the time in headsets to her best friend named Chalita, who's just so cute, and they live on different islands, so they don't get to see each other, but they're in constant communication. That's kind of how I talk with my best friend, hi Ann, all the time over cell phones because we don't live in the same state. I think that their friendship is just so adorable. They really lift each other up, and they're really there for one another, and they're really protective over one another. And I loved BB because she's a very independent, strong female character, and the whole sort of comic follows the idea that she doesn't like being called a good girl. Like, what is a good girl? You know, what does that mean? As if she isn't good enough. And I thought this would be a really good comic for sort of middle readers. It's definitely about like the independence of young women and sort of autonomy over themselves and like what they want to be and like asserting themselves, and I thought that was really cool. And it also leaves you in a little bit of a cliffhanger. It appears that BB has maybe some sort of powers we learn about, just very briefly. I'm not exactly sure, but that will be really interesting. Her and Chalita, all they do is they put on this radio show that they do together, and she's sort of broadcasting to everyone. It's sort of a pirate radio situation where they just like fix the tower so they have their own, you know, their own wavelength to radio waves to put things out to people. What are words? And it was really cool and really cute, and I really enjoyed it. I'm glad that I picked it up, even though I knew nothing about it. Shout out to Gainesville, and also shout out to Buttercup, the fiercest femme protector of the swamp. Everybody needs a Buttercup. So that's all I have for you this week. We talked about superheroes living in their own weird superhero land. That's definitely going to be fine and not at all a problem at some point in either of these comics. And we talked about BB Free and her awesome femme, I'm gonna do what I want, and I'm a strong, independent woman, and I just really, really love that. So thanks so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it, and I would love to know what you guys are reading and what you think that I should be reading. I'm sweating right now, but that's fine. Let me know what you're loving and what I'm missing out on, or something that you read and you thought you would be excited about it, but you kind of weren't. Yeah, just let me know. I'm interested. You can hit me up on Twitter. I'm also on Instagram. It's not as interesting as like my dog and some plants and stuff. And also I wanted to let you guys know that I know I'm here as a comics nerd every week or so, but I'm also an investigative digital reporter. I know, shocking, I can do not dumb stuff on the internet. And I've been working for like a year with some of my amazing coworkers on a podcast called Urge to Kill. You can get it wherever you get your podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Google, Apple, and it follows the rape and murder of Kaylee Sawyer of Bend, Oregon. You may remember that case if you're local. She was killed by a campus security officer in 2016. And her murderer would go on to terrorize several other people in a multi-state crime spree. And this was kind of the first time that all of his victims who survived run-ins with him have spoken in one place. And also we spoke to the family of Kaylee Sawyer. And we're really proud of this story because we want Kaylee's story to live on Her death inspired some serious legislation changes here in the state of Oregon, and we want to make sure everybody knows about that and everybody knows the details of the case. There's a lot of misinformation when it comes to this case. So if you're interested in true crime podcasts, give it a listen. Let us know, maybe rate it, whatever you're thinking. We would really appreciate that, and we worked really hard on it, and I'm very proud of it. So I know it's not comics related, so I'm sorry to bring it up if you're not interested in that kind of stuff, but if you're like me, you're interested in both crime and comics and hearing stories about humans.
Why us? How can it be us?
A tragic update to bring to you tonight. Police now say they found a body.
The most evil person you've ever met.
And then that's when he just started basically yelling at me to start driving. He's like, I need to get out of here. He's like, I just killed somebody.
I yelled for help, and he said, I'll shoot you, and I yelled for help again, and he shot me.
When your life is actually on the line, everything changes.
Do you think he would have become a serial killer had he had the chance?
I think so.
It just baffles me that somebody can just take someone's life.
Yeah, the devil's come to take me home.
So, thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys next week, same-ish time, same place. And until then, this has been KGW's Comic Pick of the Week.